Rachel Regan, welcome to the Legacy Lounge and our Legacy Ladies series. And you are certainly one of those legacies, but a young legacy. And so it is really exciting to talk with you as being a longtime friend and also a member of
Yes.
Exclusive Resorts. And there's been so much change in travel. But when you think about legacy and you think about travel with family, those two fit like a glove. But there have been a lot of changes in the industry all the way from 2003 when you guys were founded to the Airbnbs and the vacation packages. So tell us about the brand and what Exclusive Resorts is and how it ties in to sustainable legacy with families.
Mhm. Well, first, thank you for having me, Deb. It's so good to see you. I have missed seeing you, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I love this innovative idea. You are full of innovation and always have been. So I'm just thrilled to be on the show. So thank you for having me. Exclusive Resorts is really unique. We are kind of the Lone Ranger when you look at family and travel. So the club started, as you said, in 2003. Originally, the brainchild of two brothers who thought the world has to be better than how we travel now. Oftentimes, when you think about travel and getting away, there was really at that time only a couple of solutions. You either stayed at a luxury hotel and you hope that you ran down at the Four Seasons and got your chair before everyone else got their chair at the pool, and that you went to breakfast and paid $80 for Cheerios for your children who ran off and didn't eat them. And so you kind of were in this, you had to fit into that mold, or you decided to make an investment and buy a second home. That was really um, foundationally what the options were at that time. There wasn't the Airbnbs, there weren't kind of other things that existed. And so originally, two brothers and a couple of investors thought, gosh, there has to be a different way. They had owned second homes, which, as you know, if you've owned a second home, as I know you have, as have I, it was about maintenance and homeowners and all the things that you do to maintain a home. Even when you have someone helping you, it's a lot. And but there wasn't also, I don't want to fit my kids into one hotel room or two hotel rooms and have to be in that confined environment. So the club started, really, we are the pioneer of this industry, what was at time called the luxury destination club industry, and it somewhat still is. But in essence, it is a collection of private residences. Exclusive Resorts is one of the largest owners of privately held real estate, close to $1 billion in real estate assets that we have owned, either bought, developed, and or acquired over the last 2 decades, that are only traveled by our member families. So it's a way of traveling in an environment that's very familiar. You join the club and you have a personal ambassador who manages your family, that knows where you are in your life stages. What are your children into when they're two? Very different than when they're 15. How can we build and curate travel around what's purposeful and intentional for a specific family versus a broad-based kind of environment of open travel? So the club started. We have grown significantly since then. I think people's desires change as they go through different life stages. They want to show their children the world. And then when their children become adults, it's about bringing families back together again and being the catalyst to bring them back together.
Yeah, that's what's beautiful, and having firsthand experience, I can say that that's true. And so, let's talk a little bit about how many destinations there are right now in the club.
So, about 75 specific destinations in our core portfolio.
Hmm?
So, if you think about exclusive resorts, what started really as a residence portfolio of privately held homes that were traveled by our members has really grown into, how do I see the world and how can we allow members to travel in what is important to them? So, we have a residence portfolio, it's about 75 destinations, but we also started 15 years ago a collection of what we call once in a lifetime journeys. And members said, we love exclusive resorts. We trust you. We know that we can trust you with the little bit of time that we have off, and you will make it perfect each time. But, we love Deer Valley and we love Cabo, but we want to dive the Great Barrier Reef and we want to go on an African safari. We want you to figure out how to do it so we can just show up. So we started a collection of journeys. It started at 4 journeys, and this year we will do 50 different departures
I had no idea,
across the globe.
but some are to Africa and to Antarctica and all around the world. It's just incredible.
As we speak right now, I got a picture yesterday from a Houston member who was watching the Great Migration throughout Tanzania, having a glass of Chardonnay, and shot me a picture with the glass. Now we can't orchestrate the Great Migration; they do migrate as
Right.
they go.
Some
Um,
things you can control and other things you can't,
that's
but
exactly right.
okay.
And we have members now swimming with whale sharks in Bali and the Komodo Islands, which is fantastic. And we just finished the Monaco Grand Prix. We partner with the Ferrari race team. So members
Wow.
were actually stretching with the team before they got into the pit. And lo and behold, they won, as you know. A local Monaco boy won the race, and they brought the trophy onto the yacht and let members kind of
How
feel and touch. And
exciting. So,
so
what do you think the one trip is this year that may be sold out, but it gives us an idea of the things that are to come?
Gosh, it's so interesting. I think what we've learned is that members who trust us, they trust us with the most valuable time, as I spoke to you about. We'll have members that'll just show up in a destination. If we're doing a safari, or in Australia and New Zealand, we're doing for Christmas this year or that time frame, not even knowing what the itinerary is, saying, just we'll see it. We're here for 2 weeks.
Will show up.
We'll show up, and we know that it will be great. So
And you really have an incredible staff. And these are employees of exclusive resorts, unlike some other membership clubs where it's catch as catch can in
right.
terms of the staff. You've got long-time, loyal staff members there to help on so many different levels, right?
That's the biggest differentiator. And we learned that early on, interesting enough.
Okay.
You don't need exclusive resorts to own a nice second home or beautiful second home, or most of our members actually own two second homes, two or three. And you certainly don't need us to figure out how to access a great villa. It takes a lot of work. You might not know what you're going to get when you walk in the door, even though those pictures might have been pretty. But what we learned early on, it was not about the home, it was about the people. And how do we really know our members to a degree that it is about servicing you when you're in residence and making it simple for you so
It's
that
curating a great life experience. And whether it's a private chef
Mhm.
preparing for your family in a home so that if you've been skiing all day, you can come home and shower and have an incredible dinner in your home without
Yes.
having to fight for a reservation in the areas.
Thank-
So, because there has been so much, there's per diem rates, there's packages, there's timeshares, but exclusive resorts is an annual membership
Mhm.
fee and a startup fee. And no matter how you travel is not cheap.
No.
But I am particularly impressed with the fact that you can expect quality when you get there. When you are in an exclusive resorts property, no matter whether it's like Tahoe or Cabo or Tuscany,
Right.
the quality just stands out. And I know you're in the property identification area now. I mean, you started in one area and you've grown doing so many different jobs.
Yes.
What is it that you guys do? What criteria do you use in identifying those properties that make them just no fail every time?
That is a great question. We're always looking at different types of development. I'm looking now at a couple of different projects, or we are. But really, it is about not just the location, but the depth in that location. So for us, one great home in Tuscany is wonderful, but we need 8 or 9 homes that we can build, and they are
Mm.
ours, so that we can retain, in destination teams that live in that area, that know the little markets to go to, that can pick you up in the morning and take you to breakfast at a cafe that no one knows about. It's about that service. And so the people in each destination are just as important. So when we're looking at our partners, so oftentimes most of our destinations, we're partnered with a luxury resort. So the Four Seasons and the Ritz, and Rosewood is a great partner that we can visit about. So you have access to that full amenity sharing, but it's your own home with our team that says, we're here in the morning. What do you want to do? Or
And you're always adding more.
we're always
And
adding more.
so I know that your clientele is very discerning. Tell us a little bit about those stats.
Most of our, yeah, we are. The club has right at about
And
four.
no club, there's a right club for everyone, and
That's
no
right.
club is for everyone. You have a very unique value proposition. So thanks. Tell me more about those specs.
Really, that is unique to exclusive resorts because a fluctuation, especially in luxury travel, and specific to seasonality, can really be a hindrance to some families, even the wealthiest families. When you look at the fact that traveling, for instance, over festive season can cost upward of six figures in specific destinations.
And
So
sometimes it's just inaccessible without your membership.
Absolutely, it
Yeah.
is. Absolutely. So the fact that you can travel with us in a beautiful 4 or 5 bedroom home with your family and know what that cost structure is been
And
unique.
no one has shared this stat with me, and you probably or maybe don't, but I know the quality of the homes. And I'm not sure what the average price range is, but to speak financially, when I look at the fact that I would use as kind of a median a $5 million
Hmm.
property,
That's fair.
and whether you pay cash for that property or you finance it, you're going to have a mortgage or not. If it was 5 million and you're not going to put a big down payment, you're going to have about a $21,000 mortgage
That's right.
per month. Then between property taxes and insurance, you're going to have another 100,000 carrying cost. So it's not out of the question that you have a $300,000-400,000 carrying cost on a property that you own yourself.
That's right.
Then you show up and there is no one there to take your ski boots or to do the laundry necessarily. I think some of my clients have said the worst vacations they've had have been, laundry
Right.
vacations with a big family. So, price is always an object, but if you do the numbers and obviously there are different levels and different number of days you can buy. What's the minimum days and what's the maximum days you can buy?
So members can travel between 15 and 60 days a year
Okay.
within the club. Most members travel about 25 days annually.
Okay.
Members take 5 trips per year with exclusive resorts annually. That's about average. But this year, we've really looked at what's the future of exclusive resorts look like. And so we added in January, which was a 3 year lift, a partnership with Internova, which is allows members to utilize us as their trusted travel provider, and we can partner with Internova, who's got a global footprint in hotels and tickets and things that we haven't done necessarily. So flights, for instance, that was something that we did not do when the company started. So we call it the private travel desk. So if there's something that you want to do and we're not offering it in our journey collection and our private travel collection, which we could talk about in a little bit, or our residence collection, we now have the catalyst and the conduit to make it happen for you. Just pick up the phone to call your ambassador, most of whom have been with you or know you and know your family, what you need. So there isn't that. Do you understand who I am and what I really want when you're on the phone potentially with someone and looking for something that, for instance, the Olympics. We have many members at the Olympics right now. Some people are like, we want to watch Simone Biles and we want to see her win the gold. And we made it happen for them.
That is very exciting. So, do you think you'll be involved in the Olympics in US in 2028 in some fashion in Los
Absolutely, we will.
Angeles?
Absolutely,
Okay,
we will.
something for people to look forward to. So, I mean, price is an object, but the value compared to a second home, it has astounded me because I'm numbers are my love language.
Right.
And it just does seem to be a good value proposition.
And it is a point of reference to your point. Members can join the club. We have two options to join: a short term membership, which we started offering really post the '08 kind of financial crisis when members were
Hmm.
looking at, gosh, what is my life going to look like? And where are my funds and how do I manage those? Although my family's still the most important thing. And regardless, I'm going to travel and spend time with them. We started exclusive resorts in one type of membership. It was a long term membership. And coming out of that, we decided to offer a short term product. So fast
Hmm.
forward to today, members can join either on a 10-year membership or a 30-year membership,
Wow.
which the 30-year, to us, the most important thing is that is inheritable to your children. So that legacy of I want to institute travel because this
Wait,
is what
which
starts to,
one is available to pass on as inheritance?
we call it our lifetime or long-term 30-year membership.
It's with the amount of wealth transfer, we've thrown around, everyone throws around numbers, but, somewhere around 83 trillion, it's a number,
It's a lot.
over the next, couple of decades. And I think families are looking for that place to gather.
Mhm.
And what a nice bonus for next gen if they can go to Deer Valley or
Mhm.
to Vale and know that they can have great family time there. It's a destination location that they want to join, and the variety. It's not just the one place that they're going back to.
The most important part about exclusive resorts is that variety. And
Hmm.
what families love and what we're seeing with with the transfer of wealth that is coming, and everyone is, certainly talking about it, is that when members join exclusive resorts, they do it to share those moments with their children as they're growing. And then those children become adults and they look back fondly to the memories they had and they want to share those with their children. But they don't want to necessarily go to the same place over and over again. But they might say, gosh, I skied here with when I was 15, right? And now I'm 35 and I'm sharing this with my children. But I also want to see Paris in the Olympics and I want to go on a safari or do all these things. And so, what I think is the most interesting part about this transfer is that it can relive those special memories with your immediate family that you then are able to share with your extended family and then your family as they
Definitely.
grow.
And even though we're not at the multi generation, I think my kids just remember very fondly Costa Rica,
Mhm,
Cabo,
mhm,
Tuscany. I mean, those have been life changing events for us to get a glimpse of somewhere else
mhm.
and know that everything in the background is taken care of.
That's right. And
So
that you
it's
can
very
actually
special.
be, you can show up and walk in the door and be present and not have to worry about who's bringing the groceries, how am I getting my kids to the lift tickets, all because we are there on the ground to take care of that. And then, as I said, building this dossier of every family. What do you love? What's important to you? The club kind of grows with you so that as you take your second or third or maybe 50th trip, we're behind the scenes making sure all those things happen so that you, in that little time we all have together as a family, because you now with adult children who live in two different states and who have come back together, and me with young children but who choose to share our exclusive resorts membership with my parents and my siblings who live in different states, that when we get that time, it's
It's
our
very special.
time.
So, one of the things we've found is that our clients don't necessarily want to go and have a work vacation.
Hmm.
And as generations multiply, and you've got the kids and the grandkids,
Hmm.
and you might have more laundry and you might have this and that, um, there's not as much to think about. I mean, you can really concentrate on your vacation
That's
when
right.
you're with the exclusive resorts. And we've actually found that people want to be on vacay, but we have found that family retreats,
Treats. Hmm.
which are a one day event, but it won't work in the office. If
Right.
they can be in a safe place far away and they don't have to worry about all of the maintenance and all the things that go into it, it can be that one day safe space for that. So it's something that maybe, your clients might keep in mind if they have an advisor because those are great opportunities to pass on not just valuables, but values.
That's right.
And, families being together like that is really
And
important.
I think when you're in a situation where you're outside of your home or your office and you're in a space that's comfortable, you might open up and share the things, even with your extended family, that especially if someone is, kind of with you and there as your advisor to kind of start those conversations, all of a sudden sharing feels easier when you're in an environment that's very comfortable and it's outside of, regardless of, having a second home or you're still feel like you're responsible for something that's happening if you're in your
You're
primary resident.
responsible.
Right.
It's the psychological groceries of knowing everything is taken care of in the background
Mhm.
so you can really, spend that time with family. So it's great.
You'll love this story on the legacy, which I was going
Mm,
to share,
great.
is one of my dear members in Connecticut joined exclusive resorts. So this will be her 20th year and now has adult children, and they have she has grandchildren now, and they travel as an extended family. And so I was with her in the city, oh gosh, a few months ago, and she said, I want to tell you what I decided to do for the legacy of Exclusive Resort. I said, tell me. She said she told her daughter, she's 3 girls, that she would pay for the membership fee. The membership fee is a one-time fee, but your annual dues are paid annually. That she will pay the dues. She set up a trust in perpetuity, and they could each individually travel with their families using Exclusive Resorts. It's a family shared membership, as long as one time a year they travel together.
Oh,
So she said, what I want is for never to lose the fact that when I'm not here, that my girls will come together and that their kids can know each other regardless of where they live. And she said,
oh
and
my
I
goodness.
have someone that will make sure that that happens. And she said, regardless, it will live on. But I wanted them to know how important it was that when I'm not present, that they will still continue to be in
That
that
there's
setting together.
continuity
That there's
of
continuity.
the relationship and care, and it makes it just so much easier than if people have to go to all the trouble of trying to coordinate travel with each other. And now with the new services you've got
Mm.
on flights and so forth, it's just incredible.
Or if you have an asset. So if you have 2 or 3 homes, and who's responsible at that point, and who's maintaining it, and which child is maybe more responsible than the others. And so this allows the freedom of independent travel with their individual families, but the ability to have the lack of, to your point, thoughts or care or concern or stress of coming
Mhm.
together, and it just be laid out for them on a yearly basis. So she's great.
Well, and as you know, Status Wealth Transfer Solutions is really about education, and we're not here to sell it. But I tell you, it's hard being a member not to sing praises, because it's just an incredible brand, and you've done some things to distinguish yourself, even through these past 20 years where the industry has totally changed.
Yes,
You
yes.
still maintained your mark there.
Thank you.
And a lot of it in Houston, I mean, I just identify ER with Rachel Regan, with
Thank you.
you.
Oh.
And so you've had an incredible career with Exclusive Resorts. Tell me about this climb, where you started and where you are now, what you're doing day to day now.
So I'm blessed that my husband Tom and I joined Exclusive Resorts in 2005, 2006, and became members. We were so funny.
About the same time
We met.
we
That's
met, and
right.
we became, yeah.
Exactly. So I remember at the time I worked for a Fortune 50, and he has a medical distribution company that he had started here. And we had a lake house, like everyone in Houston has a lake house or a ranch. And it was fantastic, except I got to go and make sure the laundry was done and cook and who's coming, and then drive up I-10 back to Houston on the weekends.
And clean it before you leave, because
Yes,
you want to come back to it
yes.
looking good.
Yes. And I said, oh, this company we found, a friend of a friend said, you should look at this. You guys love to travel. And we traveled a ton. We didn't have children then. It's Exclusive Resorts. It's a couple of years old. Steve Case is a primary shareholder, because Steve, and still to this day is, and is very actively involved with the
Share
company.
Steve's background with our
Absolutely.
audience.
Most people likely know Steve Case, founder of AOL, who he's just a remarkable individual, and an entrepreneur in every sense. He is now doing, if you've heard of the Rise of the Rest, he is very passionate about bringing funding to all the states, not necessarily the coast. When you look at entrepreneurships and startups, if you're in San Francisco and the Silicon Valley, or in New York, there's an opportunity to potentially be funded with a great idea. And he has bought a bus and now is going city to city, and people can apply, and
Really?
is funding incredible ideas from companies all over the United States,
Different
from
types of
different
companies?
types of companies.
So it's not like he's picked one
Sector, not
industry or one sector.
correct.
That's
Correct.
fascinating.
No,
It must be like a fun day for him.
I
I mean, just
mean,
a
he's remarkable, and his wife Jean in so many ways. But his
and knows how to
entry,
assess those ideas fairly
he
quickly,
does,
not to waste time, money, or energy.
right. But he also brings the opportunity to.
The opportunities, that's
It's
amazing.
amazing. So the Rise
Businesses
of the
that wouldn't even have
Rest.
the chance, right?
That's exactly
Because
right.
they're new.
They're new, or they're these small ideas that someone might be in Northern Iowa has, who doesn't know how to go to get the funding that they might need from a startup. And is it bank or is it not? Where can you find the money to potentially bring that idea to fruition and then bring it to the world?
I think it was
So,
really interesting for me starting a couple of companies to learn that banks don't talk to you for 3 years.
uh-huh,
I mean, because they want profit
right.
immediately, and everybody's about EBITDA and cash flow.
Oh,
And
EBITDA. That's
as a
right. That's
startup,
right.
you're like, wait, I know there's P&L and I know the loss side in those early years, but we haven't
I need
quite
the
hit
P
our
side
stride.
too. Like,
And we need the P
I
side
need the P side.
of the
Exactly.
P&L. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's funny, but
Well,
people don't know that banks don't lend, so you're really dependent upon these VC
right.
opportunities that will look at companies that aren't making a profit today. So
Exactly
that's
right.
great. So
Exactly.
fascinating. I didn't know he was doing that.
He was.
Great.
But his history of the exclusive resorts is as almost from the company's inception. So about 6 months after AOL and Time Warner, he exited that and decided, I'm going to take a breath and see what the next opportunity is or what I will do. Well, he certainly had his hands in other things at that time as well. But he saw an ad in the Wall Street Journal that said exclusive resorts. And he picked up the phone and called and said, this sounds interesting to me. And at that time, I was not with the company then, but the legend lives that I do know the person that he spoke to and said, "Is this the Steve Case?" And he said, yep, that's me." So he became a member of Exclusive Resorts because he loved
Okay.
the thought, and he had other homes at that point in time, and then ended up being, buying a percentage of the company and really helping to be the catalyst into our real estate growth early on, and now owns the majority of the company and is still very actively involved and is just values time with his family. Now they have grandchildren, and he's traveling more within the club than he ever has.
And he
So
truly understood the value
that's right.
proposition. So it's easy for him, to continue to tell the story of that.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay,
Exactly.
and we've talked a lot about ER. I just want to hear more about you. When you started, there weren't a lot of women that were rising to the level because you now a C-suite executive within Exclusive Resorts. But what was that journey like?
The neat thing about Exclusive Resorts, so when I came to work for the company after we had become members, and I loved the freshness of it, not quite a startup, but a very young company. So I was
Mm-hmm.
at a Fortune 50 company, was on the trajectory and rise and management. We had just launched the company's first $1 billion product in a 100-year history. And I was not looking to make a change at all. I loved, it was focused in healthcare. I know you know this about me, but I am a trauma nurse by education. I moved to Houston originally to join the trauma program at Herman Hospital before it was Memorial Herman, which was many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not remind everyone when that year was at this point in time. But healthcare and the love of healthcare for all was very important to me. So I joined a Fortune 50 company and kind of was on that rise. And then really saw the opportunity at being part of a young, growing entire industry and sector. So the business sector didn't exist before Exclusive Resorts, and that was really fun for me.
That is exciting, or
And
it must have been.
it was
Yeah.
so great. So I thought, okay, let's see what this looks like. So came to work for Exclusive Resorts, and the neat thing about this company is that still today, I would say that we are a family. There's
Really?
no swim lanes. So something we talk about often as our executive team. If you have an idea that might move an acquisition forward, or that would be better on our technology platform, or that we can do to, in our finance side to make things more easier, let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not say I'm in this part and this is my role and this is where I stay. Because if you open the ideas, some of the best things we've done as a company have come from our employees through the years, or ideas from members, because we're open
It
and we
welcomes
listen.
innovation.
Welcomes
So
innovation.
when we think about you coming from a Fortune 50, basically that's a company where all the process procedures are bespoke.
Oh, Deb, you know how long it takes to change the color of a pen when it's that, we like
Oh yeah, you're
green
right.
pens. Well, let's
Okay.
change to blue. Well, let's have 900 meetings to see if the blue pens are really going to resonate with the client. And coming to something that we're like, what should it be? Let's try this. Let's do
That is
this.
interesting. I started in the automotive industry where I spent far too much time deciding whether the brochure colors needed to be a little bit more magenta,
Mhm.
or the hue needed to change. And I said, "This is a Fortune 500 company. This is
Yes. And
okay."
yes,
But some people do have problems with making the switch to where it's innovative, it's wonderful, but you have to make it.
hmm
And so in those early days, you put your handprint on a lot of things.
that was fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like it still is. So the fun part is, what is the logo? What are we doing with colors? How are we talking to members? What are we saying? What's in our how do we bring people from different departments to talk about what the messaging should be,
Tell our
and how
story.
are we telling our story the right way, and what's our brand
And do you keep
represent?
retelling your story? Do you think that you keep improving it and enhancing it in ways as a company living, breathing that way where it's still important to be better?
That's what I love about this company. It's
Okay.
why I'm still here, quite frankly. Throughout your journey, professional journey, there's always opportunities to look at other things. And, the neat thing about exclusive resorts, as we talked about, our members are, some of the most successful in the world. I mean, 80% of our members are either company owners or C suite executives.
Mm.
25% in financial services and have been in financial services, and much in real estate. So they are kind of the best at what they do. And that's been the fun part of getting to know people
And
who,
meeting
and meeting
interesting people.
interesting people who have pioneered ideas and changes in different industries, but in our world. And they're all trust exclusive resorts with that most precious time in their lives. And I think what we didn't realize 2 decades ago when the club started, what really started as a real estate company has become this community of people. And I often say, because I'm
Mm.
very blessed to meet many members, is that Exclusive Resorts is a community of very like minded people, not in how
Hmm.
they think and what they do, but what they value in life. What are the most important
Yep.
things in life?
Yep.
And I think our members are, you can almost pick them out of the room. They're giving and they're philanthropic and they're successful and they're smart, but you might not know it, right? Because what's important to them is how you feel across the table and what do I want to share with my family and what's
Hmm.
important. So we've really invested as the club has gone kind of. From the last 2 decades, I said, I was just in Aspen for an event last week, and I just said thank you to our members for allowing us into those special moments, for trusting us to create
That's
them for
beautiful.
them.
And I know that every business is trying to reinvent themselves to make sure that they have a multi generational appeal.
hmm
But you had it, and now you're embracing it as it's here. People
It's
have been
here.
talking about it for a while, but the next 10 years, it's really here.
It is. And it's, as you saw, as we came out of COVID, when our world was turned upside down and we didn't know if we should wash our groceries with peroxide and then feed them to our children because we thought we had to. Um, Exclusive Resorts, what came out of that is that Exclusive Resorts was this safe sanctuary to members. They trusted us. It's our residences. They know who's in the home. Everything was very safe. Members were traveling again very quickly post March of 2020. I had members who from New York who left New York and went and lived in one of our homes in Kiowa for 3 months because they could and because they knew everything was okay. And so what
Right. A safe place.
that safe place, which is what we had been doing already for 15 years prior. So our
Yeah.
business model didn't
And
change.
the other thing I would say is, unfortunately, I came down with COVID a couple of times before, and there was never a conversation about, oh, you're forfeiting your days. I can, the ease and grace
Thank you.
with which ER handled that, nobody wants to cancel their vacation.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't know. That's hard for ER.
hmm
That's a really difficult balancing act, and you guys handled it so gracefully.
We did. The families trust us.
Hmm.
This has become part of their life and who they are. And so if we would have taken any type of stern, but we're a company,
It would
right?
be
So
inconsistent with
the
the company's
values,
values,
that's
and
right.
you were really keen to that, and I applaud you guys for that.
I
So,
am
but back to you, because you have, by any measure, achieved incredible success.
thank you.
What hills are there to climb? for you personally now with all the success you've had?
I've never been an individual person that thinks about myself necessarily. So I think surrounding yourself with really smart, great people. I love a smart, great women who come in with great ideas, or men, or whomever it is, listening to them and allowing them to have their own platform to share, and for us to embrace those ideas has been my love of kind of I love mentoring
Hmm.
people around their journey, and I think hopefully that was something that will
And
continue
putting
as.
people together, that's always been a natural for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that. I love for people to be together and learn and travel together, whatever it might be that
Hmm.
stimulates their soul. If it is theater, or if it's travel, or if it's, sharing some type of nonprofit success to bring, which I love and do on the personal side of here in Houston, because it's important to me.
Where's your community involvement, presently? Because you've been very active throughout the years. Junior League,
Yes.
I know. And what other areas are you looking at
Number
or
one,
active in?
moms, but the mom card is taken over. I have a 14 and 11-year-old now, and wow, I thought the baby years were hard. Gosh, these teenage years are giving me a run for my money. But in anything that I can share with them is really important.
Okay.
So you're correct. So much of my life, I was part of the Junior League. I was the president of the Junior League of Houston, which is one of the great honors of my life during COVID, when we had to figure out
Wow.
how to move, how to transition, how to sustain the business, but also, you know, we normally deploy volunteers to 30 nonprofits across the city who were then closed and needing us to still bring help, maybe
Oh,
not the human help, but what could we do? So we innovated ideas that were incredible. And if you remember that year also, we had our big ice storms. So we did
I do.
a drive through where people could come and get food and water, and we would help facilitate vaccinations for children because they couldn't get into the hospital systems, and things that really allowed me to think innovatively on how can you sustain a almost 100-year-old organization that many nonprofits rely on to be successful and to
They
actually
do rely,
operate.
and so many just went out
They did.
during that time. If you were small, the chance of survival was so low. So to be kind of that beacon of light in that environment.
And we have so many larger but also smaller nonprofits. So part of my push that year was to make sure that those groups were brought together over Zoom. How are you applying for PPP? How are you doing that? How are you sustaining volunteers? So that all of those executive directors could learn from one another and not feel like they were alone,
Hmm.
which was remarkable. Both I questioned a couple of times the man above, what are you teaching us during this time? What are we trying to learn that can help us as we grow, not just in our organization but across the city and things that we're doing. But it was a difficult time for sure. But I bring much of that from my professional life and what have been blessed to do here across Houston. So now I'm involved certainly in both of my kiddos' schools in any way that I can be.
Uh-huh.
I'm on the board of Theater Under the Stars. I love musical theater, and I love what the arts bring to all people, but especially to children. And I love the outreach that TUTS does on a community level with children with disabilities, but also throughout education. I'm still on the board and have been for many years of the Children's Memorial Hermann Hospital. That is where both of my children were born. Unfortunately, my son was there in much of May with a rare blood disorder and have some of the best doctors in the world there. So I'm lucky to do that. On the March of Dimes of Houston board still. So I have my hand in things while still trying to be a mother, and also still trying to run this business called Exclusive Resorts.
Well,
So
and you make an impact everywhere you go.
thank you.
Two questions. One, you've had mentors, you've had people that you admire, great clientele. When you think about advice that you've gotten as a woman in business, as a C-suite executive, gender neutral, what is the best advice or even the worst advice that you've gotten?
I feel like I've been lucky to find strong mentors in all avenues and steps in my career, which I'm so thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if I think about it now, the advice I did not heed that I wish I would have
Mm,
been, stop thinking about what's next. Live right now. Like, live
live
in the
for
moment.
today.
Appreciate where you are. I think
Sometimes that's hard to
it's
do.
very hard.
It's always about what's next, next, next.
It is. And I think females in a very fast moving business world sometimes our struggle, like, you do want to be a mother still, but you want to have your business and you want to be successful, and so balancing
And
that is.
often taking care of aging parents
Oh,
because we're the sandwich
that is
generation.
exactly right. So I know that I lost my father um, 7 years ago to cancer, which it feels like yesterday. And
Because that relationship, that father daughter
oh,
relationship, was something you always talked about
I
and
did.
valued so
Mhm.
highly.
And he was my person,
And he
before.
lives on in you.
Thank you. Before Tom was my husband, was my person, and he still, people will still say to me, "You are your father, the way you
Really?
embrace other people." And I remember we would go to events, and he would make sure that whoever was sweeping the floor in that night, he went up to say thank you, and I appreciate you being here,
Oh,
and just was the he just had this smile and just endeared every person to him, regardless of who they are. And so I hope that I can continue to be just like him as I grow. And he was a mentor to so many people. And I remember at his service, a friend from high school who I'd never met said, "Do you know that I lost my twin sibling to a car accident when we were in high school? And your dad showed up at my door and didn't leave for 3 days because we didn't talk. He just sat there with me." And he was
really?
that person in business and that mentor to so many people
One
throughout
of
the
those
years.
angels on earth.
He was.
Yeah.
And that's why exclusive resorts is so meaningful to us, because when we joined, it was to bring our family together. I had a sister in New York. She was actually at that point in DC, and a sister in Nashville, and my parents, and we wanted that time together. And so I'm so thankful for that time that my father had with my children and with his other daughters and with their children, and exclusive resorts was that catalyst for us.
Seems he did a successful job of transferring values,
Thank you.
knowing you, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you. But I will tell you, back to my advice, I will say, I wish I would. I've always thought I came from a very small, humble background. So, all four of my lineages are immigrants to the United States from the Czech Republic. So, I think you know this, but my maiden name is Posednik. So, it's Posednik, Hanslichek, Klemenchek, and Marek. There isn't more Czech than that. But I grew up in a little town outside of Waco called West Texas, population 3,000. We didn't have a traffic light in our city. We do now, we're growing. But I grew up in a very small rural farming community where my mom didn't have indoor plumbing until she was in high school. So it was about working, being together. How do you support one another? How are you helping your neighbor to be successful? And I think I was taught that at a very young age. What can we do to give back to whomever is in need? And I remember my parents, college was not an option, right? You'll never rely on someone else but yourself. Education, and what you can do whatever you want, and be wherever you want to be in this world. And I remember when my sister first moved to DC, and one sister in Nashville, and I was the only left in Texas, my dad said, "Wait a second. You can be whatever you want, but come back home. Don't go too far
Oh,
away." Right.
wow.
But I always had this charge in me that I wanted to make him proud and my family proud. And so I think early in my career, what is next? How can I get to the next level? I was the youngest manager, actually, level in
Hmm.
the Fortune 50, I told you, in that business sector, and was promoted every year for 7 years, and was running a big team when I left to come to exclusive resorts. And I always had this drive, but I wish I would have stopped for a minute to appreciate, oh my gosh, look where we've come, or look where you are. Appreciate the moment that you're in. And I think that's the advice I wish I would have listened to a little bit
Stop and
more.
smell the roses
Uh-huh.
before it's next
And what,
and move on.
yes. And there's a, a beautiful gift in having that work ethic and drive to want to be successful and do things. And
Yeah, it's not easy for a man or woman who
correct.
just has that drive.
That's
You
right.
have to almost discipline yourself to say you
Stop.
can stop.
You can
You
stop.
can, you have permission. to
You have
stop.
permission.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the next phase of where I am. So,
Okay.
yes, there's hills to climb, and I've got some great ideas of different things. But I think I hope that I'll stop a little bit more and appreciate what the journey has been,
Great.
as I bring along and kind of mentor the next generation on their journey. That hopefully they'll
Great.
stop
Great.
for a minute and breathe.
Is there a book or a publication that you read consistently that you want to share with our viewers, or
Oh, I love to read. It is my favorite thing to
is it
do.
a passion?
Oh, in this 2 minutes of time that I have, right? So Tom will laugh, my husband, all of our friends who travel with us. My favorite thing is when I get to an exclusive resorts destination, my first day is making sure, operationally things are right. And when I'm using our personal membership, is, talking to everyone, making sure our team is great on the ground. I love to sit in the pool on a float and read a book. And I don't care what else really happens around me. So, other than making
That's
sure
your
my
safe
kids,
place.
I'd love it. I love being in the ocean, by the ocean, listening to the ocean, and reading a book. There's so many different, I think, authors that I have learned to enjoy. I've really never listened to podcasts. I'm just getting into podcast, and because I'm on planes so much, so it's been really great to download and listen. But I think probably now I'm pushing for advice from female executives who have done, who are members and have built their companies or have mentored
Mm,
teams. So I enjoy reading those types of books that might help me professionally, and then also things to help me just be a better human being and a better parent and to be more present.
to
So
be more present.
to be more present. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say a specific author or publication. I think I listen to kind of what other people are doing or what might be of interest, and then try to figure out where I should pick up a book and read again.
There's a big drive right now to try and find great things to read on leadership.
Yes.
And I'm in constant search of that because I think that we just don't have enough of it today.
Or it's so traditional. Do this. It's almost a
Mhm.
regimented leadership. You can be a good leader if you do these 5 things. Oh, really? Is that the right thing in this environment or with this age people?
Except that
And
what really differentiates great leaders is that they can do it situationally.
that's exactly
Things are
right.
constantly changing. So if you get the script that's wrote, it may become obsolete very quickly.
Exactly.
So,
So I
I mean,
think
I love reading more about that.
I agree with you. And I
Yeah.
think it's not necessarily the one or two things in this situation. It's getting to understand who you are as a leader and then being able to mold into different
And how,
situations.
how, and when should you pivot?
Right.
Knowing that.
And
Yeah.
when to ask for help. We don't know about everything, right? I mean, I think we get, as a business owner for you, same with that, any type of leader, what we've done, you think, okay, I can figure this out and do it. But sometimes we just don't know.
Or I can
And
do the
it's okay.
same thing over and over, and the world changes around you.
That's right.
And so it's really fascinating. But I admire you, always have, and I'm pleased that you came today. And I think the tie in really with our Legacy Lounge and Legacy Ladies couldn't be any better than it is with your value proposition to exclusive resorts or you as a person. So thank you so much for coming to the Legacy Lounge.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to many more travels that you get to have with yourself, your family, your children as you continue to build that legacy. That is our entire premise with this company. And I love to hear that you've enjoyed it as well. So thank you.